Hello and welcome to the Holistic Interview Series by Holistic Hounds. My name is Morgan Fitzgerald. I'm a holistic dog groomer and animal Reiki practitioner, originally from Cleveland, Ohio, and currently located in Central Oregon. Today we're going to be interviewing Katie from the Cat Lady in the UK. Welcome, Katie.
Thanks for having me. Lovely to see you again.
You as well. So please tell us more about you and what services you offer animals.
I'm based up in Liverpool, which is the northwest of the UK. It's where the Beatles are from. That's why everyone's heard of us. I work exclusively with cats. I started as a cat-only groomer, so doing mobile visits because cats aren't great at traveling. But I also do some holistic feline therapy work. So I do some energy work, Reiki, a bit of my brain. There's been a heat wave. You have to bear with me. A bit of acupressure, and I do zoopharmacognosy. So I work with herbs and self-selection. So herbs, hydrosols, and essential oils with cats as well. I work with an alpaca pack not too far from me, and I have worked with so many breeds and species of animals, but I do focus on cats.
So, what does the word holistic mean to you?
So to me, it means looking at the whole of the animal or the whole of the human. So I'm very pro vet. I think it is really important to go and see your vet for a diagnosis. In the UK, if you're not a vet, you can't diagnose over here. I don't know what the situation's like in the
Yeah, it's
States.
the same in the United States.
Yeah, so it's always like your first port of call is go to the vet, find out what exactly is wrong with your animal, and then use whatever the vet recommends, talk to them about it, but look at other methods as well and have an integrated approach. So you're not just treating a symptom, you want to look at what is the cause of it and try and get to the root of what's making the problem, whatever the problem is. Because otherwise, you might just move the symptom from one thing to another because you haven't addressed what was actually at the root of whatever the problem is. So if your cat's weeing on things inappropriately, and you just give you just give them a medication for that, they might start over grooming instead because it might be related to stress. So you haven't actually cured the issue, you've just kind of put a plaster on it.
That's
That
a
makes sense.
very good explanation, I think, of what holistic means. So,
Okay.
what made you decide to offer holistic care rather than a more traditional type of care?
It's just how I feel, it's my ethics, it's my heart, it's just how I approach things. It's not really a question, I guess, for me. It's just that's what is natural to me and how I've always kind of approached animals, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel the same way. It's something that just comes
Yeah.
naturally.
Yeah, I've never kind of like I trained regular just in regular cat grooming because there aren't any holistic courses really for cats, especially not for grooming. There's so few training providers for grooming in the UK. And I didn't like the way the handling was taught and the approach to it. So I've just made it my own over time.
So, how did you begin your journey working with cats?
I used Let me try and do the short version. So I used to work in scientific sales for years, but my passion has always been animals and cats. I got sick very suddenly in 2015 and collapsed one day and was in and out of hospital and surgeries for the next 2 years. I was living in South London at the time and I relocated back to Liverpool because I had to sell my flat and I couldn't work and things like that. So I had to move back in with my mum, which was interesting. And as I was getting a bit better and a bit better, I wanted to return to some kind of work. I didn't really have a plan. I just knew I didn't want to go back to what I was doing before because it just kind of happened by accident after university. I just kind of fell into sales. I did a degree in biochemistry and neurobiology, and then didn't want to do a PhD. So it was like, sales it is. Um, and then I was looking at sort of like part-time jobs and I saw one for a cat sitter. And I was like, okay, that's perfect because I always wanted to work with cats. Oh, here comes Tristan as well. He'll be in trouble now. So many cats. Believe it or not, there's only 4 in this house, although sometimes it feels like a lot more. Um, he's the noisy one, so apologies in advance. So yeah, so I thought it would be ideal. It was, twice a day, mostly a visit in the morning, visit in the evening. I could rest in between. My body was still healing. I still have, chronic health problems as a result of all the surgeries that are long, life lasting. So I have to manage that. Um, and it turns out I knew the owner of the company. We used to be in an orchestra together and have the same piano teacher when we were like 13, and I knew her family, bizarrely. So I got into working with cats that way, and realized, oh, you can work with cats and you don't have to be a vet, and people will still pay you to do the things that you love. I got a bit better and I wanted more responsibility. It was a small company. There wasn't anywhere to go. I talked to my boss. I knew I wanted to set up my own business working with cats, but I didn't want to do cat sitting because she did an amazing job. What could I possibly offer that their company wasn't already doing? And she suggested, why don't I look at being a cat groomer? And at that point, I'd never heard that cat grooming was a thing. I've never had a long-haired cat, always moggies, never been something I've ever needed or considered. So I was like, really? That's a thing? People people bath cats? And she was like, some of them do. So I looked into it, and although I don't really bath cats because I have opinions on that, I thought it would be perfect. And there's so few around, and I was like, there's barely any that do it in a holistic manner where the cat's welfare comes before the aesthetics of the groom, and that's very much where I come from. So you may not get a perfect groom, but your cat will feel much better for it, and it will improve its lifestyle, is my goal.
So, can you tell us a little bit more about some of the services that you offer that most other pet professionals do not?
Cat groom, just the fact that I'm a specialist in cat grooming is very different from most people. A lot of the people are dog groomers who do the odd cat, but they handle them like they're a dog, and they don't know how to hold them correctly and how to read their behavior, and they're often a bit nervous around them because cats have a reputation of biting and scratching when they're anxious. They're not aggressive animals, but they lash out in fear and defense a lot of the time. And if you don't understand that, then you can, not have a good time with it. But I also take around herbs with all my grooms, and I always offer them at the end of the groom as well, so the cat gets to select if they want to. If they don't, that's fine too, but they get to select a nice little herbal treat to keep, just a bit of valerian or calendula or chamomile or what have you. Um, and then I can do consultations in that as well if needed. I make my own ear and eye wash as well because I know it's got no chemicals in, and it's made with hydrosols and distilled water. So those are the main things that set me apart because I do specialize in cats, and I've just started making a flea powder as well,
That's awesome.
just for cats.
So, for the
That's my last point on that. Actually, a lot of stuff is for dogs and cats, and it's like, no, 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 it needs to be for cats. So
Mhm.
that's another thing I try and bring to the table. Everything I do is tailored to cats.
So, with the cats that you work with, what would you say the most common sensitivity you see is?
A lot of them have poor sensitivity, um, if that's the kind of thing you mean.
Yeah.
So they don't like having their feet touched because it's not something we do normally when we're stroking cats. As a groomer, I was taught to always start with the claws, and I totally respect why that most people do that, but I always save it till the end because I think if you're starting a grooming session, start by stroking and brushing the cat and doing things they're familiar with rather than immediately reaching for their feet and then being like, what on earth? And then you're on the back foot before you've even done anything. So paws is a big one, and tummies can be a big one too.
Do you recognize the importance of keeping your own energy grounded and balanced when you're working with cats?
Oh God, yes. Yes. I spent a bit of time for about a year and a half teaching students to groom cats, and you could really see the difference in the way that the cats would react to certain people. You can see the difference. I usually groom with the owner present. And if the owner gets anxious, then I can really see the cat's behavior start to change. So I'll suggest that they go and have a cup of tea or sit down or something and leave me to it. So, yes. And I know if I'm starting to lose my focus, I need to take my step back and take some deep breaths. I've taught this to my apprentice as well. Just keep one hand on the cat and center yourself, and the cat will feel you relax and they will start to trust you again, because they don't trust you if you're not calm and relaxed.
Exactly, yeah. So I know that you said that you offer Reiki. So can you tell us a little bit more about your training with Reiki and how it has benefited your business?
So I trained with two different types of animal healing. One was more a sort of generalized. I did an animal healing diploma that lasted a year, where we learned all about so many different small animals. We did reptiles, birds, dogs, cats. We didn't do horses, but we did like sheep. I worked with the alpacas, and that was based on working with the chakras and sensing energy and doing a bit of animal communication. We did modules on behavior and physiology. It was a very in depth course and it was absolutely amazing. And then I also studied specifically animal Reiki with a lady in Scotland called Alison McKinnon, who trained under Kathleen Prasad, who's American. And she does the Let Animals Lead method. I love her method. It is hands off. And when you're working with cats in particular, you don't want to be grabbing animals. So I use that so much in the way I handle cats. I do as little as possible when it comes to any kind of restraining. I only touch when I need to, but also enough to give them reassurance. I tend to think of myself more as like a guide rather than like a pusher, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I'll often like keep my energy open, and I'll always make sure I'm sending like love and peace and trust vibes to the animal when I'm working with them. I reassure them, I talk to them, and I've always got that heart center. I work with the heart center a lot open, to kind of just have the animal, if they want to engage and bond with me, then they can, and if they find it all very weird, then that's fine too.
So do you feel like the energy healing has really helped with the grooming aspect with the cats?
I think it really helps with the calming aspect. Cats are very stressy animals, and once they panic, it's very hard to get them to come back down again. So it's keeping them from going over that flip. So seeing it escalate and then being able to just be like, okay, and try and do that before it gets to the point of no return, when you just have to stop.
Mhm.
So that energy healing side is so beneficial for all of that.
I agree. Can you share a story of a time specifically that you helped calm an anxious animal? It could be either your animal or one of the cats that you work with.
I mean, it's something I do all the time. I go to people's houses a lot, and they're like, "Oh, this cat's going to be a nightmare. You're not even going to be able to touch them." And then I just sit down and I just do what I need to do, and they're like, "How did you do that?" So I got it every day. I had it today with a cat called Cheetah. He's a little bit grumbly. He doesn't really like being fussed, but he gets very matted. He's a big cat. He can't reach. I literally just posted about him on my socials today. He can't reach a lot of his areas, and he gets sensitivity around the back end because he is a big cat. So he's obviously got some joint pain, and I managed to comb all of the knots out. I think I cut one out because it was just too big to comb. There was no way you were getting a comb through it. But he lets me do it, and he lets me lift his paws and trim his claws, and he'll give me a little shout, but then he'll be like, okay. And then I give him some herbs after, and he sits down and lets me give him a little fuss. So all is forgiven.
What is your favorite part of your job?
Just all of it. The only thing I don't like is admin, but all of the interaction with the cats, I love coming up with new ideas. I love doing extra learning. I love networking. Anything and everything with a cat is always, brilliant. So kind of like all of it apart from admin, really. Yeah.
It's so nice to have a job where there's only one or two things that you're like, "Eh." because
Yeah, and I just
most,
delegate those bits. I just, you know, the
most
bits I
nine
don't
to
wanna
five jobs are,
give to
most
someone
of the
else to
things
do.
you loathe. So,
Yeah.
do you think that most people know what the word holistic really means?
I think even within the holistic world, everyone means something different when they say holistic. I see people use it all the time, and then I look at what they do and I'm like, "Hmm." So, no, I think it very much depends on the person, and you have to kind of question a little bit to find out what do you mean by it. There's nothing wrong or negative about that. It's just one of those words that means different things to different people. So you just want to kind of check what they mean before you sign up to something.
I agree. That's a good way of saying it. What do you think the most important thing for pet parents to know is?
Um, question things. So if someone tells you something, whether it's a professional or a layperson or the media, look into it yourself and form your own opinion. There's always multiple stories out there. Research is changing all the time. The way I was taught to do things as a child is different from the way I'm taught to do things now. So just question. So
So, what would you say your biggest challenge has been as a holistic pet care professional?
I think for me, I get a lot of imposter syndrome because I focus on the welfare above the beauty. I'm in a lot of groups where it's like, look at this perfect shave down that we had to do for this cat, and isn't this the most beautiful groom you've ever seen? And it is, it's beautiful. I love it, but it's just not how I work. So sometimes to compare my end results with someone else's end results, it's kind of like a world of difference in terms of the look of it. But I remind myself that I'm confident that I've done what was best for the cat within the cat's tolerance limits. And my goal with the cats is to teach them that grooming is nice and to try and educate their owners so they need me less and less, which is probably the opposite to a lot of groomers who
Yeah,
want them to have like regular. I love regular clients, but I want my owners to be empowered and have that relationship with their cat. And, I think that's great.
yeah, yeah. And I think there's one saying that I've heard about the only person that you should ever compare yourself to is your past version.
Yeah.
Because I think that comparison, and it can happen in any industry,
Yeah.
where we kind of look at someone else and we're like, oh, why does their groom look so good, or whatever it is, we'll nitpick and we'll be
Yeah.
like judging ourselves like, "Oh, I'm not good enough," or "I suck." But like you said, you have to remind yourself that you gotta kinda change your
Yeah.
perception towards the grooming, 'cause it is tricky, and I
Mm.
experienced the same thing, where with a lot of my dog clients, I want to do more with the styling, but the
Mhm.
dog's not comfortable, so I
Yeah.
can't until I build up that trust and work with training, and sometimes that takes a while. So, it
Yeah.
definitely avoiding comparing yourself to others and just kind of learning from your own experiences with the animals.
Yeah. Agree.
So the last question that I have is, if you could be any animal, what would it be and why?
I mean, I can't say anything but a cat. I mean, I just couldn't. I mean, I'd like to be a pampered domestic cat. So, like one of my cats that has a human that sees to all their needs and they just have to lift a paw and someone does everything for them. I think they get a lovely life. They get to lie in the sun all day. They get food, on demand. They get playtime on demand. I mean, they've got no responsibility. Um, what? Why would you not want to be a cat? And then you just come and go as you like. Do what you want.
Yeah, I think it would be nice to sleep so much, and the rest of the time you're either playing or eating, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I wouldn't like to be like a stray cat. I think that'd be a tough life. So I'd be specific about the type of cat I would be. I would be someone's pampered, you know, just a moggy but a pampered one.
So is there anything else that you want to share with the audience about feline grooming or just cats in general?
I mean, I'm always open to discussions. If anyone ever wants to talk cats, just drop me a message. I'm sure you'll put all the links and stuff up. But if you've got any questions about cats, I'm always here to listen and to try and offer advice. And I can always help signpost you wherever I think you might need to go. And don't be afraid to go to the vet.
Can you let everyone know where they can find you, either your website or social media?
Yeah, so I'm www.thecatlady, and it's cat with a K, .co.uk. And I'm on Facebook and Instagram. I think on one I am K underscore the cat lady, and on the other one I'm just K the cat lady, all in one. And you can find me on LinkedIn as well. And then my shop is on my website. I've just set up my shop.
Oh, yeah. So talk
Yeah.
more about that.
So I've put together some herbal packs for cats to um, to be able to offer on a self-selection basis. So they've got 5 herbs in each one. One's for elderly cats, one's for cats with upcoming changes, anxious cats, general enrichment, and I can always forget the fifth is multi-cat households. So if you're experiencing any issues or you just want to treat your cat, then you can buy some nice herbal packs, and they will be sold as individual herbs as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Katie, for taking the time to join us today and share your
No,
experience. And I hope
anytime.
that we have the opportunity to talk some more because I feel like the cats definitely need some more attention.
Definitely. I'm all for the cats.
And thank you again for tuning in. And we'll see you next time with another interview with a holistic pet care professional. Have a great
Thanks for
day.
having me. Bye, guys.